important factor in terms of availability of assistive technology, and the type of AT provided, consistency of supply, quality of AT, specific model details, real-time supply updates, and source of origination of product. Those are some of the questions that the project will be seeking to answer. In terms of design consideration, the system is useful to and used by Safod and its affiliates and partners or stakeholders. Those are some of the design. Some of the design considerations. Another is system is flexible and customizable to meet different needs and uses at country level or community level, and the system has a core data set that is feasible to consistently collect across contexts and countries. Yeah, so in this project, we'll be also interested to understand what sort of considerations in the design related to every assistive device that we'll be working on. So the first is to do with is the system useful, and it can be used by Safod and its affiliates and partners and stakeholders. How flexible is the system? And the system has a core data set that is feasible to consistently collect across contexts and countries. So those are some of the design considerations. That's just an example of how we think data would look like. For example, we may be talking of like clinic A. In terms of the crutches, what sizes are there, what numbers are there, or maybe they're just only crutches and not wheelchairs, providing 15 crutches per month on average in stock as of a particular date. Maybe it was only 40 by such a date. So those are some of the data, some of the type of data that will be recorded as an example. But let me mention that the system has not been developed yet. With our technology partner, we are still working on developing the system. The system itself may not necessarily look like this. It may look something different depending on the needs, depending on the inputs that our stakeholders are making, etc. So that's just a dummy sort of. Hospital X, we may have such data like prosthetics, orthotics, wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, hearing aids, eyeglasses. So basically that's how we envision that maybe the capturing of the data would look like. What are motivations to provide data? Number one, make system useful to AT providers. Wrap data into other uses, such as monitoring, stock keeping, supply chain, case management, end user follow-up, the referral system. So when we come up with the system, we'll be looking at how useful will the system be. So some of the possibilities are the ones that you see, like making the system useful to AT providers. If the AT providers do not find the system useful to them, then we don't see the the possibility of them being interested to participate in this project. But we believe that by the end of the day, when we implement, when we generate the data, when we analyze the data, when we use it for advocacy, for various purposes, the AT provider will find the system useful to their business, to the work that they do on a day-to-day basis. And we should be able to wrap the data into other uses as well, such as monitoring stock in supply chain, case management, end-user follow-up, and referral system. And what is it that we don't want in this project? The first thing that we don't want to have in this project is to have a beautiful app that no one uses. And secondly, we don't want this to be an academic exercise. That's why we want to involve as many stakeholders as possible, so that by the end of the day, it is not just an academic exercise. What are other potential benefits? Number one, shine light on AT sector. Number two, increase awareness of what AT solutions are possible. And number three, increase capacity of Safod and affiliates and its partners and stakeholders. So these are some of the additional benefits of the project. What are the challenges? The current challenges that we can think of is that number one, there is a lot of fragmentation and complexity of the AT sector. There's a wide range of product types and diversity of AT providers, as well as inconsistent supply. For example, donations, international NGO, and government. Another challenge is to do with the motivation to enter data in ComCare. For example, one-time entry, like cross-sectional snapshot, and updating data over time. So, some of the changes that we can foresee is how do we motivate? How do we motivate our partners? How do we motivate those who we're working with to consistently enter data into the system? Another challenge is to do with the cost of scaling up. I kept on saying that we'll start with the pilot and then scale up to the 9 countries. And earlier I also mentioned the total budget that we have, that is the resources that have been made, financial resources that have been made available by Google. And now the question is that enough for us to be able to effectively and comprehensively scale up the project to the entire region? So that could be a challenge. Another challenge is sustainability of project after 3 years, like financing methods to support infrastructure. So after three years, we're looking at the issue of sustainability. How do we ensure that the project is sustainable, to ensure that the project is really owned not only by Safod but other stakeholders as well, including maybe government as well, so that there is consistent financing mechanism towards the project for sustainability purposes. And then the other question is, how will we know if the project is successful? In terms of short term, we will know if the project is successful if, based on the number of users entering into ComCare system, how many users will be motivated. I mentioned about motivation area to enter data into the system. Number of end users accessing information collected by ComCare. Safod using this information to increase awareness about AT and advocate for increased access. So we know that the project is successful unless we see Safod using this information for increased awareness. And I can assure you that this is going to be done. And in terms of the long term, the system continues to increase users beyond 3-year grant. If beyond 3 years the project is sustainable, people, the government, Safod, and all other actors continue to use the home care, continue to implement the project, we will know that the project is successful. Financial mechanisms implemented in participating countries to ensure sustainability, and information is used to increase supply of and access of aid. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. At this point, may I now invite the guest of honor to officially launch the project.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. I wish to salute Mr. Chirola, the Director General of Safod, and representatives of Safod's project partners from University of Washington and affiliate present here today, representatives from government ministries or departments, Office of the President, which has been here, all invited guests, our colleagues from different DPOs that are present here this morning, Beaufort members, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to take time to greet you all. I wish to take this time to greet you all and welcome you to this historic event of the launch of the AT Info Mapping project. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and privilege for me to be here today as the stand-in guest of honor in the official launch of the Assistive Technology Information Mapping project, or simply AT. I'm indeed honored to be invited by the Safod and its affiliate organizations present here today and otherwise, and also the Botswana Federation of the Disabled and all invited dignitaries. I'm aware that AT for that project is a 3-year project that will run from 2016 to 2019 and has been funded by the Google Incorporated, being jointly coordinated by Safod and its partners, the University of Washington, the African Network for Evidence to Action on Disability, or AfriNet, and DIMAGI. I understand that the goal of the project is to map the availability of different types of assistive technology in the 10 countries where Safod has membership. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is no mean task. I'm also aware that the technology we are trying to use is famous. I'm also aware that because this is not a mean task, the project will first be piloted in Botswana, at least for the first year, where key activities, as the project coordinator has already shown us, where key activities will involve the design and testing the technology system with a small group of participants to ensure that it is useful and understandable by both persons with disabilities and organizations involved in supplying AT. Ladies and gentlemen, the project could have been piloted in any other country in Southern African region, particularly where Safod works, such as Angola, Zambia, Mozambique, Malawi, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, Swaziland, South Africa, and Namibia. But the fact that such an important project is being piloted in Botswana is indeed a privilege that we must all celebrate. It is indeed a privilege that we must all celebrate. In other words, it will not make sense to scale it up to other countries. So I see this as an opportunity for our country to show other countries that we really care about issues affecting persons with disabilities in particular, and in inclusive development in general. And we can only show that care based on the level of support that all participants gathered here today and those that have not made it here are going to render to this project. Indeed, assistive technology is very important as far as our development as a nation is concerned. It may be defined as any item or piece of equipment or product system, whether acquired commercially, off the shelf, modified or customized, that is used to increase, maintain or improve the functional capabilities of people with disabilities. AT provides creative solutions that enable individuals with disabilities to be more independent, more productive, and included in society and community life. It is therefore very much linked to our development policies and programs at national level and to the UN strategic development goals at international level. I am impressed to see quite a number of us using some assistive technology, starting from my brother, there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there are about 7 or 8 that are using some eyeglasses. In addition, by the time we come at the point of ratification of the UNCRPD itself, we will have been well informed about how best to domesticate or implement Article 9 of the Convention, which focuses on accessibility.
the article specifically stipulates that to enable persons with disabilities to live independently and participate fully in all aspects of life, state parties shall take appropriate measures to ensure to persons with disabilities access on an equal basis with others to the physical environment, to transportation, to information and communications, including information and communication technologies and systems, and to other facilities and services open or provided to the public, both in urban and in rural areas. Hence, as you can see, assistive technology really affects not only persons with disabilities, but also the development in general. The fact that assistive technology will enable persons with disabilities easy access to the physical environment and other facilities and services means therefore that their contribution to the development of the nation will be significantly enhanced. That is why we must start to encourage the discourse about how best to integrate assistive technology in our policies, legislation, and national programs. But such a discourse will not be meaningful if we lack basic data related to the levels of availability or inavailability. Nature of assistive technology that is available, where it is available, who is using them, how it is being used, and such other important information like the cost of such. Ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore in this context that I wholeheartedly welcome the project, especially the plan to have it piloted in our beautiful Botswana that turns 50 years this year. I have the confidence that the project is going to be a great success, and that is going to be to put our country on the map as probably the first country in Southern Africa to embark on such a project through Safod partnership, the University of Washington, Dimaji, and AfriNaid. We can give ourselves a round of applause for them. I therefore personally pledge my support towards the project, and I'm sure it is in the interest of everyone else here to give everything we can towards the success of the project. I thank you all and God bless you. I declare that the project is now officially launched. Thank you.
Technology world. The reason to do that within the context of this project is because when we map assistive technology, we're going to have to decide what to map. And the AT world is big and complicated, and as George noted, it's somewhat fragmented. And so that will be a big part of the challenge of the project, is deciding what goes into the system. So as I mentioned earlier, we think of AT across two categories of assistive technology. We think about devices, and we're using a definition that comes out of It's in the World Disabilities Report. I think it also is in our Americans with Disabilities Act. And it basically, it was the definition that Mr. Mofisi gave when he talked about AT. It's any, and I don't have it memorized, but it's, it's any product or device or system that supports the independence of people with disabilities. So, oh, and actually, I see I have it right there, so I could have read it. Any item, piece of equipment, or product system, you can buy it commercially, it can be on the shelf, it can be modified, customized. But it's technology that increases, maintains, or improves the capabilities of people with disabilities. And we think of devices, and that's often what we think about when we think about AT, but much of assistive technology requires services in order for it to be implemented well. Evaluation services. So, for example, ideally, if someone is being fitted for a hearing aid, they would be fitted by someone who provides those kinds of services. If a child is being fitted for a wheelchair and requires specific supports, postural supports, ideally there would be services involved to make sure that those supports are correct. So we're thinking about assistive technology across both of those categories. And you can categorize assistive technology in a lot of different ways. I'm just going to briefly cover some of them, but there's no one single way to categorize, and we'll have to think about how to do that in our approach. You can think about tools that facilitate the use of other technology. So seating and positioning is a good example. How an individual is seated and positioned in a wheelchair facilitates their ability to use that wheelchair and to use other devices like computers because it positions them in a way that's appropriate. There are a whole, it's a large number of what we call computer control interfaces. Most of us use keyboards and a mouse, but there are lots of other ways to control the computer, and so we can think about devices that are computer control interfaces. And then we can also think about assistive technology functionally, based on the function that it supports. So we have assistive technology for mobility. We have it for augmenting or replacing limb function, prosthetics and orthotics. We have it for communication. We have it for vision. We have it for hearing, and so on. And then another way, not the last way, but another way that we can think about it is that there are assistive technologies or tools that support specific activities. So there's a whole set of AT that supports daily living. Things like getting dressed, brushing your teeth, eating your food, all of those things. There are aids for environmental control. So if you're not able to turn, see a small part of the screen. So these systems kind of support the use of that kind of technology. This is an example of something called refreshable braille. You all probably are familiar with braille, and there's some examples up here. When it's printed out, it's printed on the large cardstock, and people are able to read. But if you're using a computer, you can use refreshable braille. It's a line of basically little pins that pop up, and it reads line by line. And if you're a braille reader, then you can ask it to drop line by line through text that's on a computer. You can read that line of text, move down and back up again. The system